listening to Chris Talks Cars on Cartoon Channel. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Chris Talks Cars. My name is Chris Goodin, and I am joined once again by my good friend, a man who wants to 2J swap your common rail, Mr. Brandon Cole.
No, not doing it. Not swapping out the Cummins.
I have it written down that you did just that. So
no, I refuse to ever replace anything.
Look, man, I don't write these things. I just read them, and that's what the official record has. So,
all right, fine, I'll take it.
All right, buddy, how you doing?
Doing pretty good.
How's things on the old Roll Cole? If you spell it right, you're wrong.
Yeah, if you spell it right, you're wrong. Roll Cole. Project Roll Cole is doing pretty well, keeping up with all the maintenance. We just put a 4-inch exhaust on it, turbo back exhaust on it last week. I posted about that on Instagram. So go check out the stories. You can look at some of the highlights on it. I kind of do a little step-by-step on there. A couple little things on there. It's worked out pretty well. It's super easy to install. It took me like maybe an hour. That includes like ripping the old one off. So next will be, I'm going to do
how many Hearst Turks did you gain?
Well, I think it's proven that you don't really gain much from it, but I have noticed a lower EGTs, which is definitely good. You always want to keep it a little cooler, and it does seem like the turbo lights off just a little bit sooner. That old muffler I had on there was original and it was pretty rusted. So, I mean, it could have been even a little bit clogged. I don't know, but yeah, so it definitely feels a little better. I like the sound of it too. It sounds pretty good.
Right on.
Yeah, I kept the MBRP muffler on it just to keep my neighbors happy.
Yeah, make it not quite so droney.
Yeah, it's well, I mean, they're all kind of a little droney, but
yeah,
I guess it could be worse.
Right on. What's the next step?
Let's see. Next month is getting a touchscreen.
Triple compound turbos.
Touchscreen, yeah. So actually, I've been doing a little bit of side hustle, saving my money. So it also next month, along with my touchscreen, radio, whatever upgrade. I also posted a video on there. I don't know if you saw that. I have my cassette player still on that truck. So
oh yeah,
that'll be a good upgrade just for me. But then also it'll be getting a Smarty programmer. That'll should allow it to free up quite a bit of power with it, and it should really come alive after that.
What is the stock turbo rated for? Like, how much do you actually have left on the stock fuel system and turbo?
Stock fuel system on the 2003 to 2004 Cummins, you should be able to get like high 400s, maybe if everything's real healthy, you might be able to break into the 500 range. The turbo itself, it was kind of an oddball year, so it's a little bit smaller than some of the ones that came out a few years after that. I think that'll get you maybe into the lower 400 range, so it'll definitely need a turbo upgrade, which is coming later this year.
Okay.
Along with some meth injection and everything else, I think without injector replacement, I should be able to touch the 500 rear wheel horsepower mark, but we'll see what happens.
Nice, man. That's going to be fun. That'll be be a real ripper, as they say.
It'll be able to drag around your race car, that's for sure.
Yeah. Since it doesn't exist yet,
it gives me time to get it ready.
Yeah, because I'm just going to buy one of those EV Hummers as soon as they come out and drag race that. It's 9,000 pounds, so.
Yeah, and allegedly it runs it in 3 seconds, 0 to 60. So.
Yeah, that's what they say.
That's I don't know, man. I'm going to have to see it to believe it, because it's 9,046 pounds.
That's so much. And I thought Hellcats were heavy.
I thought my truck was heavy.
Yeah. Well, a Hellcat weighs as much as a 1500, which is ridiculous.
Well, a Ford 1500, which those Fords are relatively light for trucks.
did a movie review this week. Brandon had never seen Ford versus Ferrari or the
No.
24-hour war,
I
the
have
Adam
seen the
Carolla
movie.
documentary. Yeah, you saw the cinematic movie, but you didn't see the real deal
Right.
documentary
And it was
with
very informative, and I'm glad you told me to watch it because I actually learned a lot. I normally feel like sometimes I watch these and they're kind of just like, they cover this and that, and I might grab a few things from it, but I really took a lot away from it. It was it was entertaining, which is good. It's only an hour and a half, but on top of it just being a good documentary, I learned a lot just about the history from Ford and Ferrari and several other car makers as well are covered in there. So, and a lot of famous race car drivers, the owners, and even in the documentary, you see like big names, like people with Ferrari last names are talking in here. They're being interviewed. People with Ford last names are in there. Mario Andretti's a star on the show. So there's a lot of big names in there. It's pretty cool. So definitely recommend watching both of those, Ford versus Ferrari and 24-hour war.
24-hour war is a chassis media Adam Carolla doc, and like they've done a few, but Uppity is another one that you should watch next week, the Willie T. Ribbs story. So
I'll check it out.
Yeah, really. And Adam Carolla is a car guy. He collects Paul Newman race cars. He races himself. So it's a car documentaries done by a true car guy. So if that gives it any legitimacy.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, go into what your impressions and what you thought of it.
Yeah, so I mean, I think some of the biggest takeaways. I mean, if you watch the Ford vs Ferrari movie, which I'm feeling most car guys have seen it. If you haven't, shame on you. Go watch it. But in the 24-hour war, they really cover a few things I think maybe they just missed or just weren't really worried about showing in Ford versus Ferrari. But Ford more or less they weren't in racing back in, was it 1965? They had a couple, they had the Mustang or whatever they debuted or something like that, but they weren't really in it. And they had like a handshake deal between the big three, Ford, Chevy, and Chrysler, about basically not being in it, but they were like in NASCAR and some other stuff, but not really into racing on this degree. So I guess basically Ford ended up getting into it through a
to spite Ferrari.
Well, yes, but there was more to it than that. Basically, Ford got into it to sell cars.
Right.
The idea was
win on Sunday, sell on Monday.
Right. Yeah. Race on Sunday or win on Sunday, sell on Monday. Yeah. And then, but it was a complete polar opposite for Ferrari. They sold cars so that they could afford to race. That's how
that's all Enzo wanted to do was race.
Yeah, he actually did not want to sell a pedestrian car because it kind of went against, I think, what he wanted to do was basically have race cars. He didn't want to have a car with a blinker on it, Yeah,
it's kind of funny because the average Ferrari driver now, Enzo would absolutely hate.
Yeah, for sure.
He loathes these people.
I would say majority of them are just rich dudes that like to go show off and probably...
Yeah, they're parking lot pimping.
Yeah, they don't really use it for what it's made to be used for. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool that they were there trying to win, but they were both there for totally different reasons. I don't think Ford really cared a whole lot about racing. They just wanted to sell cars, and Ford was pissed at Ferrari for turning down his deal to, I guess, buy him out more or less. But
imagine what a different automotive world it would be if Ford bought Ferrari, though. Like if the deal went through.
I think Ferrari would have been shit. I mean, look what happened when they got their hands on Jaguar.
Well, so it definitely probably could have gone that way, but here's an alternate thing. If Ford had agreed to Enzo's terms and let Enzo run the racing program and Ford funded it,
Well, so
That
we
could have
learned
been a happy reality and not a
very,
reality where
very,
Ford just runs a beautiful brand into the ground.
very true. But look what they did to Carroll Shelby, and that's pretty well documented in the Ford versus Ferrari movie. That they did not give him free reign over anything. They said he did. They said they would, and then like every time it came back to it, it's not. We're gonna put the racers we want in there. We're gonna
Yeah, for sure.
it. So yeah, I feel like it would not have gone well for.
No, that's the absolute small chance. What you said is the most probable is
Yeah,
they would have got in there and big
I
dick
think
American whatever they wanted to do and just ran it into like a Model T type scenario where we're just mass producing garbage.
yeah. I think
Not that the Model T was garbage, but
Oh yeah. Some of the other cool things about just Carroll Shelby himself and his little shop. I mean,
he was a bad son of a bitch, wasn't he?
he was so cool. I actually saw him one time when I was a little kid.
Oh,
It was, I didn't get to meet him or anything, but I saw him at the car show, and he was doing a little speech and signing stuff. It was kind of cool just to see a legend like that. But they were just regular dudes. These weren't like engineers, really. I guess they kind of were, but like apparently these guys were pretty rowdy and crazy and cutting up a lot and really probably
allotted by the seat of your pants stuff.
Yeah. So just regular old dudes just wrenching on shit, and probably said they were joking around a lot. And they they're probably the type of guys that sat around and drank beers while they were working on cars. So
Oh, absolutely.
they seem like they're pretty fun dudes. I think the last thing, this is probably my favorite thing I took away from the whole documentary, was 1967. Dan Gurney, if I'm saying that right.
Yep.
I guess after he won, he basically invented shaking up the champagne and spraying it on everything.
Oh yeah. It makes sense. It's an American thing to do. Just soak everyone in champagne. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty sweet. So, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in there. I got quite a bit of notes here, but I don't want to bore the show with all of them. But definitely a really cool show to watch. Very educational if you're into like automotive history. And
how much did it hit you in the feels when he was set up for the Triple Crown victory and Ford made him cross 1, 2, 3?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
See, I would like to know some more history on that, because I feel like the 24-hour war didn't really cover that part. And I'd like to know a little bit more about that, a little more in depth on, like, did he really get to make that decision himself? Like, I feel like a seasoned racer like himself would have known those rules. So maybe he really already knew what the consequence was of doing that or whatever. But yeah, that really sucked, man. That was shit. At least in the movie, he looks at that Enzo Ferrari, and he tips his hat at him. But yeah, that was a pretty crappy deal. Feel bad for the guy, and then he never gets another shot at it again, because of course he dies.
Right.
The following year, or later that year, or something like that. So
brutal.
Yeah, pretty crappy deal for that guy. But anyways, he did get some great wins, had a hell of a career and everything. So, and later he was put into the Hall of Fame and honored properly for all of his accomplishments. So, and I also would like to know, like, so did the guy that won, did he just sit there and act like he won?
That's the real story, is once they got back into the pits, the conversations that were had. Cause yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, do you go around bragging to people? Cause I guess it's before the internet and TV, really. I mean, there was TV, but unless you watched it live, like you could tell people anything you wanted.
I feel like I would have just been like, hey man, I know they're not going to give you the honors, but here's the trophy. You and I both know you won it. I'm not going to take it home because I didn't win it. Let me have that second place one. And, I couldn't morally, I couldn't accept it.
Yeah, that was a real sticky one for sure.
Yeah. pretty crappy deals for sure. But yeah, I think there's a lot more to it that maybe we don't know, or maybe nobody's sharing, or maybe just never got shared. Who knows?
It's very possible.
Yep.
So on a rating system of wrenches, out of 5 wrenches, how many wrenches are you going to give the documentary, and how many are you going to give this theatrical movie?
Man, I'm gonna give the movie 4.5, which is really high for me. I don't know if I'd ever give anything 5 unless it was just breathtakingly amazing. The movie's great. I'd probably give the documentary, probably give it like a 4. The only reason probably not 4.5 like the movie is because it's probably not for everybody. If you're not like a total car nerd like me and you probably won't enjoy the slower historical part of it.
Right.
But if you are a total car nerd like us, I think you're really going to like it. So 4 and 4.5. So.
Nice. I got to admit, I went into the theatrical movie a little biased because I'm a curmudgeon-y asshole and I pretty much hate everything. So I went in, especially like when Hollywood tries to do things that are like important to me, like not that like a Battleship. Like I couldn't watch that movie. It was so horrible. Like any military movie, I just sit and like wrong.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
Yeah, well, you're a better person than I am. I'm a bitter asshole, and I went into the theatrical movie Ford vs Ferrari like expecting to hate it, and I did not. I really was pleasantly surprised. They told the story well. I felt like some of the accents were a little put on. You know what I mean?
Right.
But other than that, like I really enjoyed it. So
Matt Damon trying to be a Texan.
Yeah, it was a little much, but I mean, it wasn't the worst, and he's a great actor.
Yeah.
So I'll give it the opposite score. I like the documentary a little bit better because I'm more of a nerd, I guess. But yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised by the movie, and I was already a big fan of the documentary. So I'll give the 4.5 score, but to the documentary and then the theater movie.
Solid.
Yeah.
One thing I was wondering, like, so like in the movie, they're obviously biased towards Ford, right? Kind of almost portrayed Ferrari as the bad guy. Right. I'd like to see a movie, or maybe just more in depth on the other side of the story. Because even in the documentary, you got more of Ford's side versus Ferrari's side.
I don't think they're very talkative. Like even in the interviews they got, you could tell. Like I don't know. At least to me, Ferrari didn't seem like as open.
Well, obviously.
But I mean, that just could be language barrier and some other stuff.
It was a bad 4 years for them. They don't necessarily.
That's fair.
Out of it, they got beat by a rookie for 4 years in a row.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, I guess there probably is one, but we'd have to read some subtitles to watch it.
Yeah, there's something to ponder.
Yeah, I'll actually look into that.
Make a note.
Yeah.
Anyways, here in 27 minutes as of right now, the Ford Lightning, or the Ford electric truck, is going to...
Yeah, we're boycotting the name Lightning officially.
Yeah, not a fan. It's not an SVT. It's not a Lightning. But less than 30 minutes that'll launch. So look for that here in the future. We're going to do a separate podcast on that. And let's see, what do we have? Something you're pretty excited about, these Lamborghinis.
Oh, yes. Well, it is. I'm excited because it's more the timeline I want to see. So Lamborghini has announced their hybrid / electrification plan. And what I'm reading here, the full Lamborghini road range will be plug-in hybrids by 2024, which is fantastic. That means they're all going to be all-wheel drive and they're all going to be fast as shit. I love hybrid stuff over electric. I know electric's coming. Hybrid it's the best of both worlds. Now, sadly, we'll probably lose V10s and, well, I don't know. It says the Aventador will use a hybridized V12. So they've stated that. I'm guessing everything else is going to go small displacement V8 twin turbo, because that's just kind of the move. When you have a hybrid, you save as much weight as you can on the gas side.
Right.
But it's not everything. It's not screaming naturally aspirated V10s like I love, but it's not silent all electric shit either. So
yeah. So what is it? Full electric by what year?
Plug-in hybrids across the board by 2024, and then they've got a fourth all-electric model, which so they have the concept now for the Asterion, which is a 0 to 60 in 3 second sedan they have. It's 316 cubic inch. I don't know how they... Oh, it's a hybrid. Yeah, it's a 316 cubic inch engine with... It does it in kilowatts, 449 kilowatts at 8,250 RPMs, a top speed of 199 miles an hour, and four-wheel drive with the front wheels driven by electric engines.
I need that transferred in market.
Yeah, let me see what kilowatts is in
so
pers.
Every time you mention this, because you mentioned it several times, I'm sitting there
602 pers.
Is that just from the electric?
No, that's combined. Let me see.
Well, I'll let you finish.
296 from the electric engines, so it's half and half.
296. What?
221 kilowatts is 296 horsepower. And that's with just the electric engines. It's 610 or 449 kilowatts for the internal combustion engine. So combined, it's 910. That's my bad.
There we go.
Yep.
So that's a pretty beefy number.
Yeah, 600 at the rear wheels, 300 at the front. Go on, get you some. That's how you get 0 to 60 in 3 seconds flat.
I can dig it. You can also get 0 to 60 in 3 seconds flat in a 2022 Hummer that weighs 9,000 pounds.
I mean, if this is a challenge to see who can weigh more, you definitely win in that.
So here's my thought.
So fucking heavy.
I sat there in my car driving, and I was just going over how this plans out in Brandon's world. So in 2024, they go hybrid, and then they said, by whatever X year, they want to go full electric. Like, this hybrid thing's just a crossover period to get to full electric for whatever reason. So they get to full electric, and now obviously they're going to be crazy fast. They're also going to be probably pretty heavy. So there's pros and cons there. But the biggest thing that gets me is, most of these people buy these supercars for flash and flare, and you still have this exotic, crazy, cool look, but they are losing the sound. I mean, you pull up in your Lamborghini or whatever, and you got you got the sound that goes with it,
yes,
the revs and everything, and you pull out of the fancy Omni hotel parking garage and you haul ass and you look cool, whatever these rock stars get to do in these cool cars. And that doesn't happen anymore. All you hear is like this horrible sound of screeching rubber and like this quiet zip of a electric engine. And so how appealing is this part going to be to these consumers, or even an average consumer like us, that maybe eventually when Mustangs, Camaros, whatever thing comes in our caliber of car in the future. So I don't see that being, I see that being a really big drawback. And I'm wondering how the general public's going to respond to that.
Sadly, you and I are not the general public.
That's true.
We are enthusiasts, and the general public is happy driving fucking Hyundai Sonatas and Honda Civics. So I think the general public will just piss and moan because they have to upgrade their electrical system at their house a little bit, but I think that'll really be the end of it. They don't care.
I don't necessarily mean that. I mean the general public, as in the type of person that, even if you're not like us, total car nerd, but you still have this draw to buy sports cars, and you're drawn to what they represent and the fun that you get with them and all that. And so even the average car guy that just, like, you know, your jorts wearing, high socks, sneaker, New Balance wearing middle-aged guy that drives his 10-year-old Corvette that he keeps in his garage and probably takes it in for an oil change
with the tan rag top.
Yeah. That guy still loves the sound of his roaring V8.
That's true.
LS1 roaring V8. He may not know hardly anything about this car, but he knows that when he presses that pedal, it sounds awesome. And
That's true.
It goes fast. And I don't care who you are. Nobody's going to prefer the sound of an EV over an internal combustion engine or even a hybrid. And I think the more you talk about it, the more I'm kind of getting on board with the hybrid, because that technology is coming. There's no stopping it. The electric engine.
Well, I'm about to make a point that doesn't really make sense, but it's the performance has been proven in it. And obviously the electric has also. Yeah. But like, it was such a big step for, what was it, Audi, or not Audi, Porsche, Ferrari, and McLaren to make those hybrid freaking hypercars, because they showed everyone like it can be spectacular. Like, Toyota, as good as their intentions were, they really fucked the hybrid scene by coming out with the Prius first. Like, if the first hybrids people would have seen were the big three, I think, and then the Prius, Americans at least vision of hybrids would be completely different. Because now when you think hybrid, you still think Prius, at least in America. If you say you have a hybrid, the first thing people are going to ask, would you get a fucking Prius?
Yeah, for sure.
Even though there's all kinds of American and Japanese cars that are hybrids, like Toyotas and Hondas, you can get pretty much across the model line, at least in the sedans.
You can get a Tahoe hybrid, or you could have for a while anyways.
Yeah, but still, the only thing people think about when you say I got a hybrid is a fucking potato.
They did it really well. Let's be honest.
They did. Once again, they engineering. It's great. Like, they're great cars. They got great mileage. It was the first step into it. But like, if you're thinking about it from a scene, like how to introduce it, and again, what are they going to wait until someone else beats them to market with it? No, but it would have been, I think it would have been advantageous if a sports car was the initial face of hybrid performance.
Yeah. So, I think maybe change subject back to this EV stuff just for a second. If you've ever been to a Top Fuel dragster race, ever been to a NASCAR race, or even like dirt circle track racing, any sort of like major motorsports where it's just insanely loud, you close your eyes for a second and envision it, but take away all the engine noise and imagine these cars going down the drag strip and around in circles with virtually no noise except for just some tire noise and a quiet zip of an engine.
They already have it. They already have the what's it called?
I know.
They have F1 e-racing.
I'm aware of that, but what I'm talking about is these American pastimes that are so beloved. I mean, there's a huge following to these. You show up to Texas Motor Speedway here down the road, and there's 100,000 people there, and I mean, there's thousands of campers parked outside. It's just in Texas. If you're in just in Texas during these two major NASCAR events that they have per year, it's hard to even be in Justin, Texas. It's like it just overwhelms the entire town, and it's pretty nuts. So, but just it would take away, I think, a big part of it. So I'm wondering if they're gonna recognize, if anybody's gonna recognize this and maybe say, and maybe kind of shy away from the EV stuff, at least for a long time. I don't know.
I hope so, man.
I'm trying to think of all these things I just hate about it, even though it is superior in a lot of ways.
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends on what categories you measure it by. This is going to be super cheesy, but if it's miles per mile or gallons per mile, like,
yeah.
And it's the sound is a huge part of it, and I don't know, like, I've never driven a high performance electric vehicle, so I don't know that if I'm ripping through the canyons and feeling the G's and like getting on the corners and like that fun of it, like, I don't know. I've never experienced it without engine noise, so I can't say that it's just not the same. But I don't know, man.
I feel like it's a lot to me, man. It
for sure. Like, I'm not discounting it, but I don't know. It's for sure a huge part of it, and I'm definitely not gonna go out and buy one as soon as I can. The Tesla will be the last car I buy, and not because I'm anti-EV. It's just because I'm sure in my waning years of my life I'll be driving an EV, so I'm gonna drive everything that's V8 and loud I can right now.
Yeah, if I drive an EV, it'll be the family car and it won't be my personal one.
There you go. That's fair.
I gotta have something that's clanking or roaring or something.
Yeah, I don't have anyone to haul around but myself, so.
Yeah. Well, I guess like I always say on this subject, time will tell. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, there could be legislation come out next week that changes everything, so.
Well, like what you were talking about a minute ago before we got on air is the major chip shortage. I mean, just think about, how there's got to be, I mean, I'm no engineer, but I assume there's got to be quite a bit more of these microchips in these EV vehicles or even hybrids. There's already a major shortage right now. And I don't know if this is due to the pandemic or due to this current gas shortage we're experiencing, but if that's something that could affect this as well in the future, maybe short term or even long term development and production of these vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, there's more. I don't know if there's more or less because there's so much electronic, so many electronic components in even regular cars now. Like, it's all controllers. Like, there's the ECU that controls like your Corvette. Is there I mean, obviously there's more to it than in a Tesla, but according to CNBC, the chip shortage is expected to cost the automotive industry $110 billion in revenue in just 2021.
That's a lot. It's a big impact on.
Yeah.
What was it? I think it was initially affecting Ford and their trucks.
Yeah, there's a few other. I think it was Chevy maybe or Chrysler that was a little bit more on the ball with it and already diverted their resources to the truck line because that's where the big money's made in that sector.
That's where they rip everybody off at.
Yep. That's your pickup trucks fund pretty much everything else in a company.
That seems about right. They're so ridiculously priced these days. Never again will I buy a brand new vehicle. That was painful doing it the first time.
Yeah, I learned that lesson when I bought my Golf R.
Yeah,
I don't regret buying it. Like, it was a fun car, but
sure.
if I was going to spend 40 grand, there's definitely some other options I would have looked into first.
Yeah. See,
Also, probably not the best idea to spend 40 grand 18 months before I got out of the Navy. So,
that was the opposite. I got out, I got a decent job, and so I just immediately went and bought a $50,000 truck. And I don't regret buying the truck. I just would have bought one that was a couple years older, the same thing, and
yeah.
knocked $20,000 off of it, and been perfectly happy with a couple thousand more miles.
Yeah.
Live and learn, though. We're all young ones.
Yep. So, I think that's about it for today, unless you have anything else.
That'll do.
All right, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe, rate and review, all those things. I know you hear it from every social media person, but it really does help us climb the charts and get noticed. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next week with the 2021 Lightning or the 2022 Lightning review and our thoughts on that.